What's the most justified time you've seen someone go over their chain of command? Private Dalton was 18 years old, fresh out of basic training, quiet kid from Nebraska who never caused problems, always followed orders perfectly. Our platoon sergeant was Staff Sergeant Brennan, 20-year veteran, decorated combat leader. Everyone respected him, except Brennan had one massive blind spot. His best friend from high school, Sergeant Wade, worked in our supply section. Wade was stealing equipment and selling it on the black market. Body armor, night vision goggles, expensive gear that soldiers needed for deployment. Wade would mark items as damaged or lost, then sell them to private buyers. Made thousands of dollars over 6 months. Everyone in supply knew something was wrong, but nobody wanted to cross Brennan's friend. Dalton worked part-time in the supply cage, saw Wade falsifying inventory reports, watched him load brand new equipment into his personal truck after hours. The kid documented everything in a small notebook. Serial numbers, dates, items missing. First, Dalton went to Wade directly, asked him about the discrepancies. Wade laughed in his face. Mind your business, Private. You're nobody. Next, Dalton tried the supply sergeant, showed him the notebook with all the evidence. The supply sergeant looked uncomfortable. This is serious. You need to take it to your platoon sergeant. So Dalton went to Brennan, explained what he'd witnessed, showed the documentation. Brennan's face turned red. Not angry at Wade, angry at Dalton. You're accusing my friend of being a thief? Based on what? Some scribbles in a notebook? Brennan leaned forward. Wade's been in this unit for 8 years. You've been here 8 weeks. Who do you think I'm going to believe? Dalton tried again the next day. Brought more evidence. Photos he'd taken of Wade loading equipment. Copies of falsified inventory reports. Brennan refused to look at any of it. Drop this right now, Private. That's an order. Wade is a good soldier. You're just trying to make a name for yourself by taking down a senior NCO. 2 weeks later, our company was preparing for deployment to Afghanistan. The equipment list came back short. We were missing 20 sets of body armor, 15 night vision devices, critical gear that soldiers needed to survive. Brennan covered for Wade. Told the commander it was a paperwork error. Said the equipment would turn up before deployment. But Dalton knew the truth. That gear was gone. Sold to the highest bidder. Dalton made a decision that could have ended his career. He bypassed his entire chain of command. Walked straight into the battalion commander's office during open door hours. Lieutenant Colonel Fletcher was a no-nonsense officer. Former Ranger. He listened to Dalton for 30 minutes without interrupting. Reviewed every piece of evidence. Studied the photos and inventory reports. Why didn't you go through your platoon sergeant? Fletcher asked. I did, sir. 3 times. He refused to investigate because the suspect is his friend. Fletcher picked up his phone. Called the military police. Within 2 hours, criminal investigators were searching Wade's house. Found a garage full of stolen military equipment. Body armor stacked to the ceiling. Night vision goggles still in original packaging. Over $200,000 worth of government property. Wade was arrested that afternoon. Handcuffs, full escort off base. Turns out he'd been running this operation for 2 years across multiple bases. The investigation expanded to other units. Recovered over $500,000 in stolen equipment. Brennan was called into the battalion commander's office. I wasn't there but heard about it later. Fletcher ripped into him for 20 minutes. How could a senior NCO ignore credible evidence because of friendship? How many soldiers might have died in Afghanistan with missing body armor? Brennan tried to defend himself. Said he didn't think Wade was capable of theft. Fletcher cut him off. You didn't think, Sergeant. That's the problem. An 18-year-old private did your job because you were too loyal to a criminal to protect your soldiers. Brennan got relieved of his platoon sergeant position. Transferred to a desk job at division headquarters. Never recovered his reputation. Retired 2 years later at the same rank. Wade got 5 years in military prison. Dishonorable discharge. Federal conviction that followed him forever. But here's what nobody expected. Dalton got promoted to specialist ahead of his peers. Fletcher personally wrote his evaluation. Demonstrated moral courage and leadership beyond his rank. Placed mission and soldier welfare above personal consequences. The company commander called a formation to address what happened. Stood in front of 200 soldiers and said, Private Dalton did something incredibly brave. He went over his chain of command because his chain of command failed. That's not insubordination. That's leadership. Some of the senior NCOs were bitter about it. Thought Dalton should have kept trying with Brennan instead of jumping the chain. But most of us understood. Sometimes the system protects the wrong people. 6 months later, we deployed to Afghanistan. Every soldier had proper equipment. Body armor that actually fit. Night vision that worked. We all knew why. Dalton got promoted to sergeant faster than anyone in battalion history. 4 years, from private to sergeant. Fletcher made sure of it. Wanted everyone to know that doing the right thing gets rewarded, even when it's the hard thing. I ran into Brennan at a reunion last year. He pulled me aside, asked about Dalton. Is he still in? Yeah, I said. Sergeant first class now. Runs the supply section at Fort Bragg. Brennan nodded slowly. Good. He deserved it. I was wrong. Cost me everything to learn that lesson. Dalton never talked about what happened. Just did his job quietly. But Fletcher kept Wade's mugshot in his office until he retired. Whenever a young soldier asked about it, he'd tell them Dalton's story. That's what real leadership looks like. An 18-year-old kid with a notebook who refused to let his friends deploy without equipment because someone's buddy was a criminal. The chain of command exists for a reason. But sometimes, just sometimes, you have to break it to fix it.